Hey, what's going on, y'all? 7RD Ramont. Go how your kingdom of heaven is at hand. Check this out, man. I'm looking at Romans 15th chapter, 4th verse. Very familiar passage of scripture. It reads, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope." It went on to talk about patience and consolation from the Most High, which we need at this time, man. What was written in the past is for us to observe and to use it as a reference to what's going on today. And you can somehow, some way, be built up in hope. To say that we might have hope. Now, the hope that is written in this passage is not just talking about, not just a feeling or a strong desire that a certain thing will happen. No, it ain't talking about that. It renders the position and the stance of an individual having certainty. It's like being clenched on what is inevitable. This type of hope that is written in this scripture is dealing with an authoritative disposition. As you trust, no matter what comes, no matter what goes, no matter how things change and alters, and all the modifications and augmentations that may occur, you understand. And you may not even understand. I know in Proverbs they say and all that, get understanding, but sometimes you may not understand. But deep within your person, deep within your faculties, deep within your affections, in your imagination, in your memory, in your conscience, in your will, and even in your reason, you have some form of certainty. You're clenched that things will play out as the Most High designed them to play out. You understand that. You may have doubt and you may have, reservations when you see things occurring. But all in all, what the Most High Yah has set in motion, it cannot be overthrown. And this is something that we all must come to some sort of resolution with, because we living in times of uncertainty. I give you my testimony. At this point in time, I'm not employed. Well, I'm employed, but I don't have, we on strike. And it's going on 3 months. And for 3 months, I haven't received any pay. And just a week ago, my wife, she's been furloughed. And when her job put you on furlough, everybody has heard about what's going on with the government. When they put you on furlough, you don't receive no money. So for almost 2 months, I haven't received a check. And now we won't be receiving a check from my wife's job. So, it's just my little situation. Not to even touch on all the other occurrences that's happening out there. But you have uncertainty everywhere. You have your Congress men and women fighting each other and got people lives on the line. They rather see people who work continue to report to work without any pay. But on the other hand, some of them are fighting for illegals to get free health care insurance. So you got a whole system that is crumbling like a cookie. The analogy that I've used in the past, back in the day, they had lumberjacks in the forest, and they would chip away at a tree. Today, they got all types of machinery to do that stuff. A couple of years ago, we had a tree service to come to remove a tree because it had a hole in it, and the hole went pretty far up into the tree. And we were afraid that all it would take is a storm to come through, and that tree, it would have fell on our house or the neighbor's house. So we had to get it, we had to take it down. They came up with all kind of machinery and stuff, and the machine did all the work. But back in the day, you had lumberjacks, and a lumberjack would just chip away with a sharp axe. And so if you can take that analogy and use your imagination, you can see that's what's happening to these United States. It's being chipped away little by little, being chipped away easily. And the whole thing is going to fall. But you have the leaders that trying to manipulate and have people doing things, they dishonest. They have no form of decency anymore. They'll lie to you in your face, tell you anything. And so I read that scripture in Romans, the 15th chapter and the 4th verse, just a reminder that when things get so hectic and when things get so out of hand and haywire, out of control, and just events running amok, you have to revert back to those encouraging words where it says, what was written aforetime was written for our learning, for us to, to look at the current situation and understand it's not the first. There has been many kingdoms that has risen and fallen. And so this is nothing new. It's nothing different. But in the midst of it all, you see what's going on, and you just may have the question. You're like, man, all this stuff is happening. And we always suffering. We always got some type of fiery dart that is thrown our way. And so sometimes we, they hurling all kinds of accusations. I'm speaking in codes, and many of you may understand what I'm saying. For example, you had an event in Utah about a month ago, and people of the same ethnicity or the same nationality were at this event. And another individual of the same nationality decided to open fire. Instead of them dealing with the issue at hand, what they decided to do is first thing first, shut down the HBCU. I'm like, what is that all about? Not only that, we're calling in on Blog Talk and calling in on podcasts, the different hosts that's of our persuasion, and pointing a finger at us. Like we didn't have nothing to do with that, but they found a way to pull us in. Like Al Pacino said in The Godfather, every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. And we were like, what the hell do we have to do with that incident out there? We had nothing to do with it, but they somehow, some way added us. And that's how the subject matter is. When the Arabs, at the beginning stages of their chastisement, over there in the Middle East. You had them on TikTok and various social media channels talking about how come the African Americans, how come they not doing anything? I mean, what the hell, man? And then you had with ICE running to and fro. ICE, they grabbing people. First thing they want to do, African Americans, what y'all doing? Y'all next. Why are y'all so concerned about us? Romans 15:4. It was written aforetime, was written for our learning, so that we may have hope, so that we may understand. There must be something to the African Americans. Everybody looking to us. Everybody want to copy. Everybody want to mimic. Something is up. I think they know the secret. Sometimes we just get frustrated. Sometimes we just get to the point where we got it up to here with the upper class. How they try to include, like I go to the Dylan Roof, how he went to this church and he went to the African American community once again, open fired. And then what happened? At the arraignment or what have you, the judge fussing at the victims, the ones that got shot, fussing at them. And not only that, when George Zimmerman was following a young teenager with a gun, mind you, and in the court of law, they found a way to get him off. He following a young man with a gun and managed to, and whatever happened, the young man whom George Zimmerman was following was unalived. And when he went to court, he got off. It's the same with this George Floyd situation in 2020, where this police officer of the law, had his knee on the man's neck, and you get all these people say it was fentanyl overdose, the reason why this man George Floyd lost his life. But on the flip side of that, they always look at us. Whenever there's a protest that's needed, they look into us. They were upset with us because we're not protesting. We have a lot of people, from, the Caribbean and other places in the Caribbean and Africa. How come the African Americans are not joining in on this? I'm like, what the hell? Then you have your leaders, you have the ruling class, the elite. You see them playing with people's lives. You see them just doing what they want to do. Everything is out in the open. No one is trying to be secluded or trying to do things in the dark. They out in the open. But Luke 18 chapter said that whatever is done in the dark will come out to the light. That was written aforetime. It was written for our learning. And so that we, through patience, you got to remember that in the scripture, through patience, that we may have hope. And so you have to be patient with all these events that's unfolding right before our eyes. The country is in turmoil and people are getting fed up. They're doing whatever they want to do. They don't have a problem just firing a whole squad of individuals. After that incident that I first referenced, people got online and was talking about it and doing it, and they lost their jobs. You got all kinds of events that don't make sense. And that just lead me to another passage that fell on my mind. And it's in Psalm 73. First to the fourth verse, it reads, "Truly, the sovereign one is good to Israel." It's talking about Israel. It's talking about the people whom everybody looked to. It's evident who Israel really is. I heard President Trump talking about reinvented everything, and everything that he named was invented by the people that everybody loved to hate, people from our ethnicity. Everything that he spoke about. And so it's evident who Israel really is. Israel would be cut off from being a nation, as it says in Psalm 83. There's only one people who have no identity. And so we find any and everything to identify with. So that first verse, truly the sovereign one, it says God, but truly the sovereign one is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. Clean heart. So that right there is the clue where the scripture is going. When they say clean heart, talking about integrity. You get the government and you get people in the ruling class, they have no integrity. They speak with a forked tongue. They say one thing, and when they feel like they're about to be called on what they said, they change the narrative. They move the goalposts. They form another argument to divert from what they previously said. That's not a clean heart. And so that's what this scripture is talking about. And this is Asaph. And Asaph, he's looking around in this day and time. And the first thing, he made a confession. He made a confession that truly, surely, Yah is good to Israel. And then he talked about even those with a clean heart, people that have integrity and straightforwardness, not just speaking one thing and doing something else. You get that a lot. On these jobs, they tell you one thing and then they create a farce to manipulate the people. And when they feel like they're about to be called on it, they switch off and come up with something else and then come back talking about there's so many developments that's happening. We'll keep you posted. All that's not integrity. But just check it out. Let me read verse 2. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My step had well nigh slipped. So what is he saying? He's saying, man, I'm slipping. Doubt and disillusionment is setting in because I see what's going on. Let me read verse 3. That explains why he said his foot slipped. Well, let me read verse 2 again and say, but as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Man, isn't that the truth? It seems like we can't do hardly anything without some form of chastisement coming down on us, some type of punishment. We get checked real quick. But you have people of other ethnicity, they get away with just about everything. They have gotten away for so long, they get offended when something don't go their way. And when they offended, guess what they do? They look to us. This is why, they see the country is going in a different direction. And now you have Caucasians talking about restarting a community. All right, nobody said nothing. Then they come back, tell the African American, what? Why are you consistently worrying about us? We don't care. Sundown towns, you find the people being hung in various places on the southern, eastern portions of the United States. You see what I'm saying, man? And so you see all this. Asaph, he saw the wicked and what they doing. And he said, my foot almost slipped. I started slipping, man. I started doubting. I became disenchanted. And not only that, I grew frustrated because I'm tired of everybody pointing to us. They want to kill us. They want to, they think they own us. They snatching us. It's like a tug of war. They want us to go over here. Then another group want us to go over there. Then they want to blame us. They want to throw us in jail. R. Kelly in jail. P. Diddy in jail. We are always made out of an example. And so we trying to hold our integrity. We trying to live with a conviction of doing the right thing, and still stuff come my way. And so this is what Asaph talking about. Let me read verse 3 again. For I was envious of the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no bands in their death. What do you mean? These people, they don't even have, it seems like they don't have no trouble. Collectively, I ain't talking about individually. You know, somebody may get cancer or this, that, and other. But he like, as a collective, they seem like they just go through life doing what they want to do. Here we are doing everything, and the ruling class, it don't seem like they are being challenged as a collective. Whenever they do, they get mad. Whenever there are some forms of recompense coming their way, they want to include us. I was looking at this movie, my wife and we was looking at this movie on how all the way up to the 60s, you had these people, Caucasians, still had people enslaved, man. That's what I'm talking about. You see all this stuff, and even today, they going back to hanging. They going back to, there was a slew of shooting, police brutality. It's always something. So I can see why Asaph said, my foot almost slipped, man, because I'm looking at all this, and it don't seem like we're not getting ahead. We take baby steps. Then Asaph, he came to the realization. That's where that Romans 15:4 comes in, when it says what was written aforetime. It's written for our learning through patience. And when the scripture talks about patience, trust me, man, it ain't just a short while. We got to be patient as we move forward. And we ain't talking all this Christianity stuff. I always say that. Because Christianity was just a way to keep us in a serfdom and submissive state of mind. It was to maintain docility. That's what Christianity did. It maintained docility and obedience. And you see it now. People jumping and shouting. I saw this one advertisement of a rug that says, for me and my house, are you blessed going out, blessed coming in? She had her boots, lady had her boots on. She went outside the threshold of her house and did a little boot scooting, foot shuffling, toe tapping, buck dance, then went inside the house beyond the threshold and did some more boot scooting, buck dancing, and bojangling, and went outside and had the church organ playing. Man, Christianity has dumbed us down till we equate these scriptures to that nonsense. We're powerful people. We are authoritative people. The whole world has learned from us. Even when we were in chains, they still learn from it. As soon as they released the chains, what did we do? We went, built a city, and they burnt it down. They do everything we do, they constantly keeping their eyes on us. And so sometimes your foot might slip, but you got to remember patience and comfort of what was written, that you might have hope. And what I say, hope is certainty. It's authoritative. It goes on to say, now let me read verse 4 again, then I'm going to have to close it. It say, for they are no bands. What does that mean? They have it seems like they don't have no trouble as a collective of people. When they say no bands, they unbothered. It look like they carefree. That's what this scripture is talking about. And they are. They are unbothered by anyone else, by other people's misery. They act like but they don't care because it's not happening to them. Soon as something happened to them, then all of a sudden they want everybody to come in confederation. Well, they not unbothered. That's why I say they have no bands. They seem like they have no misfortune as a collective. I got to keep saying that. I don't want anyone to mistake me talking collectively to an individual's personal struggle. I'm talking about as a group of people. They on top, and they do everything they can to maintain that supremacy. And that's what Asaph saw, and that's what this message is conveying today. And he went on to talk about how prideful they are. He went on to talk about how corrupt they are. You can read it for yourself. I'm not going to read the whole scripture, but what Asaph was saying, he almost allowed what he witnessed in his time to get the best of him. What he witnessed, the elite and the people, those are on the upper echelon, how they do everything to oppress the Most High's representatives. Even today, I was looking at, like I was getting ready to say, I was looking at that movie, how they had slaves in the 1960s, man, and refused to tell them that slavery was over 100 years ago. Boy, I tell you. And it seemed like nothing is done. They found out and they just went on. And that's what Asaph talking about. But you got to be careful. Don't let your foot slip. Even though they have set up this and we have paved the way through our blood, sweat, and tears, and people from other ethnicities, other country, other nationality come right in, pull up a chair, come to the table, pull up a chair, and start eating and feasting on all of the fruits of our labor. They allowed the Irish to come in and gave them the police station. They allowed the Italians to come. All this happened after. We've been here long before these people got here, and they well established, and we still struggling. So sometimes your feet may want to slip, but you got to understand that there is hope. And the hope is continue to allow the certainty of who we are and the evidence of that certainty of how we still influence people, and we keep chugging along. Don't let your foot slip. You know, you have, like I said, congressmen and congresswomen fighting each other, putting people livelihood on the line. Then you had all these other people, like I said, you have these people that come from other countries. They come in and they give them loans. It was this back in the 90s, early 90s. It was this guy had an African store. And I always wonder, how did he come over here from, I think he was from Ghana, I believe. I can't remember. Don't quote me on it. But he came from some country in Africa and set up shop. And I thought, man, how did you do? You got money? No, I don't have money. They just gave them the loans that they generated from our blood, sweat, and tears. You have no idea how free labor made this country rich beyond what anyone can imagine. And so I don't blame them. I don't blame the, Chinese people. They gave them loans and gave them Chinese, chop sueys all over the place. They gave the Irish police station, Little Italy all over the place. These people came after us, but they looked to us and say, the African American community is bad. Sometimes it causes you to lose your footing and cause your feet to slip. But you got to understand, man, the whole grand scheme of things, the Most High has ordered it this way, and we just got to maintain the course. Oh, yeah. You got with this dude that set up that African shop. He had all kind of clothes, and it's just, I remember looking at this movie Ghost Dog. Here you have Forrest Whitaker living on the roof, taking hit jobs, and then you had a man from France come right in and set up an ice cream. He ain't had no money. Who gave him the money? Who funded it? That's the secret that people don't talk about. They talk about all the other people come in and they rise up. Look at Congress. You got people of other ethnicities in Congress. You have all of these people that come right into these United States and rise right up to the top and come into confederation with all the ruling class, with the aristocracy. And we still trying to feel our way. Obama himself, he came, Kenyan, and yeah, his mother from here. But his father is from Kenya, and he came, went right to the top. They'd do anybody else but us. Why? Because they know we special and they got to keep us regulated. And so they got to keep their foot on our neck, and sometimes that causes us to lose our footing and cause us to slip. But I'm here to tell you and to remind you what Asaph, the reality that he had to come to. You got to stay the course, and you got to continue to keep it moving. And understand the sustaining power of the Most High. Say his truth endures to all generation. And what is his truth? That he has a people that he got a contract, a covenant with, and the Most High don't break his contract. And so just remember, as people continue to move past us, and they've been doing it for centuries. We've been here. And people came right in and enjoyed the fruits of our labor. And we still strain and trying to get ahead. But just remember that old story that they told us in grade school. The tortoise and the hare. The tortoise was just taking little baby steps, and the hare was running all fast. And the hare saw he was way ahead, and he went to sleep. Said, I'm going to take a nap. And while he was napping, he fell into a deep sleep, and the tortoise just strolled right on past very slowly. Next thing you know, the hare woke up and saw that he had overslept, and he saw that the tortoise was almost at the finish line, and he ran with all his might. But about the time he caught up with that tortoise, it was too late. And that's what's going on. They sleeping right now. Why you say they sleeping? Because they got this country upside down, man. So who's really in control? The sustaining power of the Most High Yah. He's causing these things to happen. Yeah, they shut governments down. My job, they don't want to give in and playing games. But who's in control? The Almighty Yah. And his authority and his power will never wane. That's the truth of the matter. So don't slip, don't trip. We on our way to greatness. This was kind of long. I didn't mean for it to be this long, but it is what it is. Peace, y'all.